Okay, so just a little bit of history about the RTA. So back in 2004, the Arizona State Legislature passed legislation that created the authority to create the Pima County Regional Transportation Authority. Now I'm going to stop here for a second just to make sure that everybody understands we are the Regional Transportation Authority for Pima County, but we are not part of the Pima County government. We're a special taxing district that was created by state legislation. All of the local governments in Pima County and our partners in the tribal nations are all part of our board of directors. So we work and coordinate with each other, but we, even though we're the Pima County Regional Transportation Authority, want to make sure that you know that we are an independent agency that is not part of the Pima County government. So in 2006, after they passed the legislation, we went to the voters of Pima County, and the voters in 2006 had two questions on the ballot. First one was to approve a 20-year transportation plan, which they approved, which we're operating under now. The second question on that ballot was a half-cent sales tax to pay for that 20-year transportation plan. That half-cent sales tax that was approved by the voters also at that time can only be used to pay for voter-approved transportation projects, and that's very important. So when we go to the ballot in November of 2025, you're going to have that same choice. There's going to be two questions on the ballot. One is going to be the next 20-year plan, 20-year transportation plan. And then the second question on that ballot is going to be the half-cent sales tax to pay for that plan. Both of them need to pass. There is no funding for the transportation plan without the half-cent sales tax. So when they go on the ballot, both of them need to pass. We can't pass the plan without the tax, so we can't pass the tax without the plan. So why do we need a new plan? As you guys know, we've got a thriving, growing community here in Pima County. The transportation is a critical part of our community. The RTA, the first RTA plan and RTA Next plan are going to help us reduce congestion in our community. It's going to enhance multimodal options. When we say that, RTA is not just about building roads, it's also about other forms of transportation. So we do a lot of work on pedestrian, bicycle paths. We do a lot of safety improvements in intersections. We do a lot of bus pullouts, for example. So when you're trying to get to work and people are getting on and off buses, they pull into those bus pullouts so we don't have 50 cars idling while people are getting on and off the bus. We do all sorts of things that are, it's not just fixing the road. So I want to make sure you know that, but all of those things go to improve and enhance our community. What you can expect from the next plan, we're going to continue to offer mobility choices, connectivity, going to get you from here to there faster and safer. But also keep in mind that you know, we are in an environment where we're competing against other communities economically, and having a robust transportation system and infrastructure makes us competitive when we're looking to attract businesses to come to our community, but also when we're looking to encourage existing businesses to expand their operations in our community. Infrastructure always comes up in the top of those lists of why people either expand their businesses or relocate their businesses to our community. Oh, well, there you go. So I always tell everybody this when we do this presentation: if you get nothing out of tonight, I think this is probably the most important slide that most people are not aware of. So there you go. I saw the sign language. Thank you. So on an annual basis, you can see the two bottom categories, state and federal funding, and we appreciate state and federal funding that comes into our community for transportation improvements, but that's about $50 million that we get from state and federal funds. The half-cent voter approved sales tax comes in about 110 to 119 million dollars a year. So you can see right there, about 2/3 of all the money that we have available for transportation improvements in our community come from that voter approved half-cent sales tax. So that's important in and of itself. But the other thing to keep in mind is, like I told you, the voters approved this in 2006. The approval for this goes away in June of 2026. So if we do not have a new voter approved plan and a new voter approved half-cent sales tax, that 2/3 that you see right there goes away. So we will be trying to figure out how we do transportation improvements in our community with 2/3 less money than what we have right now. There are other important things about that, but I think that's one of the most important things to keep in mind when you look at RTA Next. This is just a slide to show you other sources of funding, because people always ask, well, besides RTA, what do you have? So we do have federal funding. We have state funding like gas tax. The RTA is a significant part of that. And then we have local funding, and whether that's property taxes or general fund or developer impact fees. But as you saw in the previous slide, the vast majority of that money that's available to us is coming from the RTA half-cent voter approved sales tax. Okay, the reason why this is important too is, I know this is going to sound like a surprise to all of you, but we're dealing with things like inflation right now. And that is a problem, but we're feeling it the same as you're feeling it in your lives. We're feeling it when we start to do transportation improvements. It costs more to build a road than it did 20 years ago when we started this process. And so the locally controlled RTA sales tax gives us a locally controlled revenue source that we have to pay for local projects, so that we can deal with things like inflation and continue to build road projects. So two things about this that I want to share with you that are really important. First of all, one of the reasons why the RTA is also important to you is that you guys get to vote for the projects that we do, and you get to vote for the funding source. We have, as I said earlier, we have access to funding from state and federal government, but we don't always control how much money we're getting or where those monies are directed. Sometimes the federal government and the state government put earmarks on stuff. They direct that money towards specific projects. So we don't know necessarily from year to year if we're going to have access to that. The RTA money that you vote on, it's the one source of funding that you get to pick what projects that we work on, and we can only fund those projects. So we don't have to worry about budgets, earmarks, anything like that. But the other thing to keep in mind, and this is one of those good news, bad news things, it's great that we get money from gas tax, but as you guys all know, the cars that we have right now are much more fuel efficient than they used to be in the past. That's a good thing. Nobody's complaining about that, but that means we're not generating as much money from traditional funding sources like gas taxes as we used to even 10 years ago. So that half-cent sales tax becomes even more valuable because you guys get to decide where it goes and you guys control what happens with that. Whereas a lot of these other funding sources, we really have zero control over. So it's a sales tax. When you go to the store and whatever you pay for, half-cent of that sales tax that you're paying is going towards the RTA. The good news about that, which I like to remind everybody, is everybody that uses the roads pays for the roads. That means that as opposed to doing like a property tax or something like that, a half-cent sales tax, even people that are on vacation here that use our roads, even people that are winter visitors here that use our roads, everybody that pays that sales tax is going to pay for the roads. So everybody that uses the roads pays for the roads. So this is just, I None of this is going to be surprising to you, a list of what you pay sales tax on. It's the same as you pay sales tax on anything. The one thing that we want to make sure you know is that the two things that are exempt from that sales tax are groceries and pharmaceutical items. So you're paying that half-cent sales tax, but you're not paying it on either groceries or pharmaceuticals. So when we pass the next 20-year plan, there's going to be local job creation, and we've got a couple slides a little bit later to show you exactly what that means. When we do transportation improvements in an area, one of the perfect examples right up the street is Twin Peaks, and you can see all the economic development that comes from those transportation improvements. Once you do transportation improvements, you start seeing a lot of new businesses that pop up around those corridors. Also, you can expect that we're going to continue to expand transit services for folks that use those. And we've got another slide coming up, but it's not just the money that we collect from the sales tax. When we make those investments in transportation improvements, we always see an additional benefit to our community because we end up attracting billions of dollars of new investments in those areas where we put those transportation improvements in. So we're able to leverage not just the sales tax dollars that we collect, but additional private money that comes into our community. So the 2006 plan that is about to expire, here's just a few things to let you know about things that we're proud of. All in all, and I talked to you about the fact that it's not just road projects. We've had over 1,000 RTA projects that have been completed through the first RTA plan that was approved in 2006. That's road projects, safety improvements, intersection improvements, pedestrian improvements, bicycle paths, all those things. But over 1,000 projects have been funded through the RTA in this last few years since 2006. We collected about $1.6 billion in the tax, but we've been able to leverage more than $3 billion in public-private investments as a result of that. And there are thousands of jobs created, and I'll just jump to the next slide. We actually commissioned an economic impact study, and they found that the first RTA plan was responsible for creating 40,000 permanent jobs since we passed it in 2006. But they estimate that a new plan will be able to help us create 88,000 new jobs. So this is a job creator. It's not just fixing our roads, it's not just improving our community, but it's going to create jobs for people who live here. And we anticipate an additional $1.4 billion in private investment coming into our community as a result of passage of the next RTA plan. So highlights, and you'll be able to look in detail in the open house, but we are in the draft plan right now. We have 34 roadway corridor projects. Now that's 30 new projects, and there are 4 projects that were part of the first RTA that, because of increase in cost and changes in the scope of those projects, we felt like, to be in compliance with the state law, that we needed to ask the voters to basically authorize those projects again with the scope changes and the increase in costs. So we got 34 roadway corridor projects. We've got some money set aside for arterial reconstruction. Now, what this is existing roads that are currently in either poor or failing condition. We are not, and you'll see a slide later, we are not the people that do routine road maintenance. We don't fix potholes, things like that, but we've got some money set aside for regional arterial projects that are already currently failing, that we will be completely rebuilding those projects as part of this. We are also a significant portion of the funding for transit services. So not only the buses, but the dial-a-ride, Sun Express, Sun Shuttle, expanding weekend and evening routes for transit services. And as part of the new plan, there is a proposed rapid transit route that goes up Stone Avenue, basically between Tucson Mall and downtown Tucson, that is being proposed. You can also expect in this plan to see continued funding for bicycle and pedestrian improvements, increased safety and traffic signal improvements, safe routes to school, and also wildlife linkages. This is one of those things that it may not be top of mind. We actually have one if you go up towards Coronado Elementary School up here. We have both overpasses and underpasses for the wildlife. And obviously, that's important to the wildlife, but just as importantly, it's important to you and I driving down those roads, because if we don't have things like that and the animals start going across the road, that is a significant problem. If you have a car running into an animal, and you can have 5, 6 car pileups. So it's not only for the protection and safety of the animals, but it's protection and safety of the people who are using the roads to make sure that we have safety for everybody. Okay, I talked about this earlier, but just want to make it clear. The RTA is not responsible for routine road maintenance. That has always been the responsibility of local governments. It will continue to be the responsibility of local governments. We are legally not allowed to do it under the legislation that created us. So we will continue to work on the voter approved projects that you guys approve, but we are not in the business of routine road maintenance. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. So here's what you can expect next. We're having open house meetings like this. We really want to hear your input of what you like, what you don't like. We've got a draft plan for you to take a look at right now. Once you take a look at that draft plan, we would love to hear from you. Fill out that survey. Let us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. Once we get that input, we will go back to our board of directors and we will make changes to the plan based on that input. We anticipate that we will have the plan on the ballot in November of 2025. You will have the option to vote for those 2 questions again, the new RTA Next plan and the half-cent sales tax to pay for that plan. If you want any more information, you can go to our website, rtanext.com. Like I told you, we have the QR codes that you can use here. You can go to rtanext.com/email if you want to sign up directly to take that email. Otherwise, use that QR code. We will send you the survey. We really want to hear from you. And we appreciate you being here. There's the QR code up here. We've got them all around. Our staff is going to be here to answer any questions. But again, we want to thank you for taking time to be with us here tonight.